Shalom, greetings to you in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Today I'm going to touch base upon certain aspects from the covenant that Yahuwah made with Abraham and Sarah, and it's very interesting if we understand through the Paleo Hebrew language, how the covenant is expressed, to us, because this was an everlasting covenant. Some people say that the covenant that Yahuwah made with Abraham was the old covenant and now we are in the new covenant. No, it is not that way, because the covenant that Yahuwah made with Abraham is that in you all the Gentiles will be blessed or will receive the Berekah. So, and Shaul the emissary very clearly in Galatians says that the promise was not to seeds as of many, but to the seed Mashiach. So Mashiach is the one who brings in that renewed covenant. Alright, so he is the one who renews the Abrahamic covenant, which was lost in people being occupied in the carnal letter, because when the written Torah came, alright, that's where things changed, and that's where people became more legalistic and more of the letter and less of the ruach. So when I'm explaining this, I will let you know about what that circumcision is all about. So the first thing that I would like to share or show on the board is the name Yahuwah. So this is in Paleo Hebrew. This is a Yod, He, Waw, He. Now Yahuwah, has got, the name has got a gematria value. So every Hebrew name, Abari name has got a gematria value. So the letter Yod has got a gematria value of 10. The letter He has got a gematria value of 5. Uav has got a gematria value of 6. And again He 5. So if you add all this, you get a gematria value of 26. Now you will say, what is 26 all about? Why this guy is talking about, or this brother is talking about gematria value. So it's very interesting, because if you see, 26 is broken into 2 into 13, and there are various words, all right, which have the similar gematria value, and it is all tied to Yahuwah, Elohim. So if you see over here, the first word, if you see over here, Ahaba. Now Ahaba is translated in English as love. Alright, in English it is very diluted, because we use the word, we use the word for your wife, saying that I love you. You use the same word to your son, daughter, etc., to your relatives, to your friends, that you love him. So it's a diluted word. But when you come back to the Abari roots, and you will see where the love is of Elohim for the chosen one, whom he has chosen from the foundation of the world, as it says that Elohim so loved the world, alright, that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever shall believe on him shall not perish but shall have everlasting life. So when you see that word Ahaba, alright, which has got a gematria value of 13, because Aleph, the gematria value is 1, He is 5. This is the Beth in Paleo Hebrew. Beth has got a gematria value of 2, and He has got again a gematria value of 5. If you add all this, comes to 13. So I said Yahuwah gematria value is 26. So if I multiply 2 into 13 is 26. Now this number 2, alright, in scripture talks about witness. Alright, and there is a word, alright, where number 2 is displayed as the word Shana. Can you see this word? Shin, Nun, He. Alright, so this word Shana means number 2. Okay, and it also means second. It also means repeat. It's like a repeat witness. Okay, and it's like a cycle of repetition. Alright, that's the meaning of Shana. Right, so this Shana, alright, is related, if you see, to number 2. And 13, alright, is, like I said, there are 2 words which I would like to touch base upon. One is Ahaba, the other one is Akkad. Akkad has the Aleph, which has got a gematria value of 1, Ket, which has got a gematria value of 8, and Dalet, which has got a gematria value of 4. If you add all this, both these words have a gematria value of 13, and it is directly related to Yahuwah, because in Ahaba you will see the word Ab. Can you see this word Ab? Ab means father. Okay, so the father. And can you see this word Ba? Is the Beth and He. All right. So the word Ba forms the word Bahu. Have you heard of this word Bahu? Genesis chapter 1 verses 2. The earth was formless and void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. So the word which is translated as void is the word Bahu, which has got this root word Ba. Ba is like something that needs to be filled in, and it's very interesting. If you see the letter Beth, all right, has got a gematria value of 2. So this is the letter Beth, which has got a gematria value of 2. And again, this is directly related to Shana, because this letter Beth talks about your body. All right, so what is the body that we are talking about? The body of Mashiach. All right, and we are talking about the creation, that is our body, because we become one with the Master. That is what Akkad talks about. When you believe in Yahushua HaMashiach, you come into the unity of faith, you become one with Mashiach, you become one with your brethren. And what are we commanded? To love one another as I have loved you. See the beauty and the connection of it. So whoever is in the Master is one ruach with him, it says. So you and me are in the hope of being transformed into his body, because he is in the glorified form. After he rose from the dead, he ascended into heaven. He is esteemed, right? He is in the glorified body, and when he appears, we shall be like him. So we will receive that same body. So Beth has got a gematria value of 2. All right. So the Master's body and our body, the body of Mashiach, the assembly, the believers who are the elect, all right, are all the body of Mashiach, isn't it? So it's so amazing over here when you see this one little letter having that gematria value. So my emphasis is on Ab, all right, filling this box. So the revelation of who the Ab is very, very important, because many people look at Ab as they don't look at Yahusha as the Ab, as the Father. Whereas there are various scriptures, like in which is written in Hebrews as well. Here am I and the children whom Elohim has given to me. It's Yahusha talking in prophetic terms. All right, so we are his children. So if we are his children, then he becomes our Ab, right? He's a father, and the fullness of Father is in that body, because he is the visible representation of the invisible Elohim. The Abba is manifested in a body in its fullness, and when you become one with him, you get a realization and a revelation of who the Abba is. So that is displayed in this word Ahaba. Okay, and the word Akkad, like I told you, we become one with him and with one another. All right, so it's all related to the name Yahuwah. Okay, so now what is interesting to see over here is that when you come to Abraham, when you read Genesis chapter 17, okay, now Abraham is in Haran, and Yahuwah tells him, come out of your father's house to the land that I will give to your descendants. And Yahuwah makes a covenant with him, and that time Abraham is 75 years old, and he is termed as Abram, not Abraham. He is termed as Abram, and Sarah is termed as Sarai. You can read that in Genesis chapter 17. And I think verse 7 talks about that, when Abraham came from Haran, all right, he sojourned with Elohim for 24 years in an uncircumcised state. And what does that mean? If you read Romans chapter 4, the emissary Shaul is talking about circumcision, and he's giving an example of Abraham. And what does he talk about Abraham? He says that Abraham, he received the covenant when he was in an uncircumcised state, right? And he received the sign of that covenant, the righteousness, the seal in the flesh, identification marker which distinguishes him, all right, from the pagans, all right, in the form of circumcision. The righteousness, the seal of righteousness, circumcision, which means that it says in I think Genesis 17:17, Sarah was 90 years old, all right, when she bore Ishak, and Abraham was 100 years old at that time. So, which means that, and there is another scripture which says that Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh, which means 1 year after he got circumcised in the flesh is when Ishak was born, the promised seed, right? But was Ishak the seed? Who was the seed? Mashiach, right? So Mashiach does not fall in line after Ishak. Ishak falls in line of the order of Mashiach. We need to understand that. Okay, so we fall in line. We, as Ishak, Shaul says, are the promised seed, right? But we fall in line with Mashiach. He does not fall in line with us. He is preeminent over all creation. So everything was meant for him, right? So coming back to Abraham. So this is how Abraham is spelled in Abari: Aleph, Bet, Resh and Mem. So if you see over here, the gematria value of Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Resh is 200 and Mem is 40. Alright, you add all that, it comes to 243. And what is interesting to see is Abraham has again got the root word Ab, which is the father. And if you see over here, this is another root word Ram. Ram means exalted. So he was an exalted father. So what does it talk about? It's pointing out to Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the exalted father. Alright, so if you see over here, now what is interesting aspect is Yahuwah disintegrated himself to come as the seed from Sarah. And how do you understand that? Because Sarah, before she became Sarah, she was Sarai. Okay, can you see here? Shin, Resh, Yod. Alright, Shin has the gematria value of 300, Resh has 200 and Yod has 10. Alright, comes to 510. So what Yahuwah did was, from his name, okay, he put one Ha over here, okay. So this became Abraham. So I have written over here, Abraham. Okay, he put one Ha from his name over here. The other Ha he put over here and he removed this Yod. So that's the reason I put, in Sarah, Yod is minus 10 and He is 5. So he put Sarah. Now what happened was, this is an interesting aspect I would like to touch base upon. Because before the covenant, Sarah was Sarai, right? Now, if you see here, Yod is the hand, and which had an appointed time for that Shar. Shar is the prince. There was an appointed time for that Shar to be born, that prince to be born. So Yahuwah hand closed the womb, all right, and did not allow that son to come until that appointed time. So this is what we need to keep in mind, all right. And how does that matter? It really matters, because if you see the scripture, Sarah, all right, before when she got married with Abraham, all right, she came out of a puberty state and she came into menopause. Okay, and in menopause, a woman cannot bear children because there is no more menstruation cycle. All right, the ovaries are not formed for the child to be born. So that's how we understand that Sarah's womb was shut by Yahuwah. But is anything too hard for Yahuwah? Not at all. He can reverse the entire process, and he reversed the process and brought Sarah from menopause into puberty. And we got proof from scripture, because when you see scripture very clearly states two places. One is the king of Egypt. He lusts after Sarah because she was beautiful to behold and wants to marry her. So now you tell me, okay, this all happened after Abraham came out of Haran, right? So if Abraham was 99 when he got the covenant of circumcision, when he was 100 when Ishak was born, and Sarah was 90 years old, all right, so there was 10 years gap between them. So if Abraham was 75 when he came out of Haran, Sarah was 65. Do the maths, right? She was 65 years old, which means already shows that she was in menopause, right? Because a woman, when she comes to the age of 50, she comes into menopause, and it's not possible for a woman to bear a child. But how did she become beautiful that, at the age of 65 or plus little years, that the king of Egypt, wanted to marry her, and she was beautiful to behold, it says. Not only that, it also says about Abimelech, the king Abimelech, all right, he also wanted to marry Sarah because she was beautiful to behold. And Abraham had to tell them to survive because he was in a foreign land. He said that she is my sister. Actually, he did not lie, because indeed she was his half sister, like a cousin to him. So, if she was beautiful to behold, that shows that Yahuwah had already begun the process, the reverse process, to bring her back into gestation. Gestation means, bearing a child in the womb. So Yahuwah was preparing her for that gestation to happen, bringing back her into her menstruation cycle by transforming her body. So again, body talks about death, right? So the woman who's old, body is weak, cannot bring children, the barren womb cannot bear children, comes into fruitfulness to bear children. So the body, can you see this here? Body, it talks, it's like, talks about two Torahs. What is the Torah of sin and death? The Torah of sin and death does not produce fruitfulness. It produces death. The womb is barren. You cannot have the promised seed from a dead womb. So Yahuwah transforms the body into the, like a new covenant body, which can now bring forth the man-child, coming to Revelation chapter 12. What it says, Yahukanan sees the vision of the covenant woman clothed with the sun, moon under her feet, and crown of 12 stars on her head. All right, and she was travailing in birth pangs to bring forth the man-child. Who's that man-child? The promised seed, who's Yahushua HaMashiach. Can you see that? So the transformed woman, is depicted by Sarah when Yahuwah dropped this yod. He removed his hand and allowed, the promised seed to come forth from her womb. So this hay, which has got the gematria value of 5 again talks about Torah, the Torah of life. 5 is also the number of grace, or it says Khan. It's also the number of Khan, which is grace, or you can say compassion. And the womb, the word for womb in Abari is Rakham, all right, which also means compassion. So the compassion of the womb. So by adding the Ha, all right, the promised seed came. The letter, if you see Ha, is like a window emitting light. All right, it's two ways, the light entering in and the light coming out. So the conception happened with the light coming in and the fruitfulness of the womb, multiple children of light coming out of that womb. So that's the picture of Sarah, the prince. All right, Sarai in Hebrew means my princess, and Shara means princess or prince. it's actually Shar is prince and Ha makes it feminine, all right, in Hebrew grammar. So Shara means princess. All right, so the princess is holding the prince within a womb, traveling in birth pangs and brings forth. And we fall in line of that womb. That's the reason when you come to Galatians chapter 4, that's where emissary Shaul talks about the two covenants. One is likened to Hagar, who is the present Jerusalem, who is bound with her children. All right, it's like the Torah of sin and death, not being able to bring forth the children of light from a womb. It's bringing it's like a barren womb. But the transformation, people who are under that Torah of sin and death, some of them, the remnant, Yahuwah transformed them into the everlasting covenant, which is depicted by Sarah, the mother Jerusalem, who's from above. All right, and we are her children. All right, if we believe in Yahushua HaMashiach, because like I said, Yahushua does not fall in line with us. We fall in line in the promised seed according to the promise made with Abraham. So the promise made to Abraham is an everlasting covenant. It is not a momentary or old covenant. Not at all. Okay, that covenant is renewed, and that's the reason we have Abraham all over the New Testament, his example given by the emissary Shaul, talking about him. So now, like I said, one hay was given over here, the other hay was given to Sarah to make Sarah. So the yod, all right, is the hand, and uav is like a sharp instrument. All right. So Yahuwah by the unseen hand, Shaul talks about we are circumcised by the invisible hand, or the hand, which has circumcised by the circumcision of Mashiach, it says. So Mashiach has circumcised the heart by the invisible hand with this sharp instrument, and that is where we come to the word mal, all right, which means to circumcise. And the gematria value of mal, mem is 40 and lamed is 30. All right, if you add both this, it comes to 70. 70 is number 7 into 10. 7 always depicts a number of Shemitah cycles, like 7, another 7, 14, and so on and so forth, coming to 7 into 7, 49. So it talks about the Shemitah cycle and its completeness. All right, so circumcision begins with the heart, and Shaul never spoke against the circumcision of the flesh. That's where the Christianity and those people who have fallen in line with Christianity and believe in a replacement theology stating that baptism replaced circumcision are completely off track, because they don't have a distinguishing marker in the flesh. Forget that. Let's take a simple example. Cain, didn't Yahuwah put a mark on him to distinguish him so that people shouldn't kill him? Because why would people kill Cain? Why was he afraid that people would kill him after he killed Abel? Because Cain yearly, along with his brother Abel, went to give the minka offering. That's how we see in, I think, Genesis, where it talks about the sacrifice that Abel brought, and Yahuwah looked upon his sacrifice. All right, he gazed upon his sacrifice. Whereas Cain's, he rejected, because Cain did not follow the instructions that were given as per the minka offering. And Yahuwah told him that you can do well. Means he had an opportunity in the next year to change his attitude and do it in the right way. But what it says, he was so jealous of his brother, he slayed and killed his brother. He became the first murderer, and as a result, now he was rejected and he was being cast out of the place of the summit, the Mikpad altar where the minka offering was offered outside Eden. And now he was going to a place out into the world, and now the people, his own brothers, who are not in the covenant, will now identify, oh, he's like one of us, he's no longer going to go up to the place of summit. So he's of no use to us. They may kill him. So that's the reason Yahuwah put a distinguishing marker on him, and he became the father of the way of Cain, as Yehuda or Jude in the New Testament talks about. So when Yahuwah put a marker on an unbeliever, a person who's rejected, so didn't he put a marker on the one whom he brought into the covenant? That is Abraham. He put a marker, distinguishing marker, and we, in belief in Yahushua HaMashiach, all right, fall into that line. Okay, now what is interesting to see, I spoke about Abraham, 24 years he walked with Elohim, or with Yahuwah, you can say, being in an uncircumcised state. So can we say that, all right, Abraham could have rejected Yahuwah's dabar by when Yahuwah told him to circumcise himself and all his seed, all right, after him, all the sons after him? Okay, can we say he could have done that? No, he couldn't, because he believed in obedience. He understood what that marker is all about. So 24 years he walked in an uncircumcised state, and that's what Saul is talking about. Because when in the renewed covenant, when you see the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and all these people, some of them believed in Yahushua Mashiach, they brought a burden upon the people by saying that you have to be circumcised to be saved. So they were bringing a legalistic mindset into the people, that your salvation is based upon your outward circumcision, isn't it? But that's where the emissary Saul stood against them, saying that that's not how the covenant came. He gave the example of Abraham, that Abraham's heart was circumcised, and then came the obedience. Faith followed by works. Doesn't Jacob or James talks about faith followed by works? He says, you show me your faith without works, I'll show you my faith with my works. So, the works follow the faith, not vice versa. You don't do the work and then say that now I'll wait for faith to come. No, that's what Saul was speaking against, them saying that you cannot do that. You have to first identify that person in his lifestyle. Is he walking in the way of Yahusha? And if he is, then he will automatically, because Moshe or Masha is being read in the Knesset or synagogue every Shabbat, so he will automatically get circumcised. He will obey the Torah, because he will understand the sign, the distinguishing marker in the flesh. So that's what Saul was talking about, and people misunderstand him today, okay, and call him a false apostle, because they don't understand what he was trying to say. And some people twist his words by saying that no, Saul said that you shouldn't be circumcised at all in the flesh, because circumcision or uncircumcision does not mean anything but a renewed creation. That's what the scripture says. But if you read the context of it, Saul is talking about circumcision or uncircumcision means nothing. What means is a renewed creation. That work in your heart has to be seen. Then only your circumcision is validated. It has to be validated by your lifestyle and your behavior, your attitude, right, in your walk with Yahuwah. So that's what Saul was talking about. So coming back, circumcise. To circumcise is, I said mal. Now the word mal also means to mala. If you see, it's a root word in mala, which means to speak. It's a speech. It's a word. All right. It's like the bashara going out of the mouth. Like I said, your mouth speaks what your heart is full of. Doesn't the scripture says that? Okay. So if you are going to speak the true bashara and it falls on people's ears, they are going to obey Yahuwah. They are going to obey Yahuwah by falling in line with his promise, because he disintegrated his name to become Yahusha. All right, this Yod, all right, by his hand he cut Abraham. So now you tell me, think logically. Okay, I'm challenging all the viewers to think logically. Yahuwah, why he didn't bring Ishak, all right, from Sarah's womb when she was Sarai and when he was just Abram, when he was in an uncircumcised state, when he walked 24 years. Why? Think about it. Because he gave him a distinguishing marker. When he was 99 years old, he was circumcised in his flesh, right? And when he was 100 years old, 1 year later, Ishak was born, the promised seed who falls in line with Yahushua HaMashiach. So, Yahuwah could have done that, right, in an uncircumcised state. So, many of you, all right, Christians out there, and many of you who are come out of Christianity and, challenging, the sign of circumcision in the flesh, for you, a question. Okay, you are married. You have sons in your family. They are in an uncircumcised state. Doesn't Torah say that if you are uncircumcised, you cannot have the Pishak meal? Now, I'm not taking you back to cutting of lambs. 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 7 and 8, talks about Yahusha is a Passover lamb. All right. So, you cannot partake of Yahusha. You cannot be part of him. That which means you cannot be part of him if you are not circumcised. That's what the Torah says. You cannot eat of the Passover meal. No stranger, no foreigner can partake unless he is circumcised in the flesh, unless there is a distinguishing marker, And the distinguishing marker falls in line with the distinguishing marker first in the heart. The outward form means nothing if you are internally not circumcised. Isn't it? That's what the scripture talks about. So, you are pagan if you are trying to say that I believe in Yahusha, I embrace Yahusha, I believe in Yahusha, and all the sons in your family are in an uncircumcised state, eating pig meat, you are doing all kinds of abominable things, not following Torah, as the Abraham followed. And Yahuwah testified about Abraham when he told Ishak that, Abraham, my servant, obeyed my laws, my ordinances, my statutes. So, was the written Torah given? No, it was through verbal. So, by doing these things, he obeyed Yahuwah. Isn't it? That's what it says. The written Torah came much later through Masha. But Abraham already obeyed the Torah, and Yahuwah testified to it. You can go and read the scriptures. So, where was I? was talking about, okay, now the word circumcision, all right, is the word Milah. All right, so if you see over here, Milah has got a gematria value of 85. Mem is 40, Yod is 10, Lamed is 30, and He is 5. And this, can you see these words? Yah. Yah is in Milah. And Mal is circumcision. So, Yahuwah, Yah is the poetic form. It says about, I think in Psalms chapter 68, it says that it talks about Yahuwah riding on the heavens by his name Yah. Alright, so Yah is in this word circumcision. Yah is in everything that he did with Abraham. To make Abraham, to make Sarai, Sarah. So, can you see that? So, isn't it so wonderful, because he brings everyone who believes in him, all right, into his love. I think 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 5, if I am not mistaken, it says that he has poured out his love in our hearts by his Ruach HaKodesh. Let me just verify it. 1 Corinthians 5 verses 5. No, I'm sorry, not 5 verses 5. It is just a moment. I'll just grab that scripture. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, I'm sorry, it is Romans chapter 5 verses 5. It says, "And expectation does not disappoint, because the love of Elohim has been poured out in our hearts by the set apart Ruach who was given to us." So this love, Ahaba, was poured in our hearts. That's where the circumcision has taken place. That's where Yah sits within the circumcision. The circumcision not made by hands but by the invisible hand. And one more thing I forgot to tell you was this Sarai. All right, when it comes to Yahusha, it talks about he was born under the woman, under Torah, at the appointed time. Okay, so the promise was who? Of Yahusha HaMashiach. And one other interesting thing is that when you read Leviticus chapter 12, all right, I'll read out a few verses over here. It talks, and I'll conclude this video by this. When you see Leviticus chapter 12, verses 2 to 4, it says, "Speak to the children of Yasharel, saying, when a woman has conceived and has given birth to a male child," so keep this in mind, okay, given birth to a male child, "then she shall be unclean 7 days, as in her days of a monthly separation, she is unclean." Verse 3, "And on the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin," that means her son foreskin, "is circumcised, and she remains in the blood of her cleansing 33 days. She does not touch whatever is set apart, and she does not come into the set apart place until the days of her cleansing are completed." So what does this mean to us? All right. So if you see over here, the gematria value of Mem is 40. All right. And Mem, the letter Mem stands for blood. Blood and water, which are the elements of the womb. The child is in the womb, in gestation, in water and blood. And that's what Yahukanan says, that this is he, speaking about Yahusha, who came by water and by blood. He came from that womb, the womb of the morning, the promise. Isn't that wonderful? The Mem. All right. Lamed is leading. All right. So it's like a shepherd's staff. It's like, something that is leading towards that womb, to see what is within that womb. Who is that promised one? Isn't that wonderful? And that's how we come to know that Yah is sitting inside it. Can you see this? Yah is sitting inside that circumcision, in that Mem, in that womb. It's so amazing, Paleo Hebrew, if you understand, it's really, really amazing. And speaking about Leviticus chapter 12, all right, and you compare it with Yahusha Mashiach when he was born, all right, it says in Luke chapter 2 verses 21 to 22, "And when 8 days were completed for him to be circumcised, his name was called Yahusha, the name given by the messenger. And when the days of her cleansing were completed, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to Yahuwah." All right, so which means the woman, as Leviticus chapter 12 says, that after the male child is born, she is in 7 days uncleanliness. Okay. Now, according to Torah, she cannot go into the set apart place for the child to be circumcised. So that's the reason All right, there was an outer porch which was made where the priest is to come, where the woman was allowed to come along with her husband to circumcise the child on the 8th day. And that's how Miriam accompanied Yahushua HaMashiach. And then she remained again 33 days, 33 plus 7, 40 days in her completion of her, complete that cycle of, after the gestation, after the bleeding is completely stopped and she is pronounced as clean, all right, according to Torah, all right, that 40 again, talks about the mem, the blood. The blood flow has been completed, and now that woman is pronounced as clean because she has brought forth the man-child Yahushua HaMashiach. She is now pronounced clean, and once she is pronounced clean, because her womb has brought forth Yahushua HaMashiach, no longer will she be under the Torah of sin and death, of the laws of cleanliness and uncleanliness, because in a menstruation cycle, wherever she sat, that place became unclean. She had a law of separation, where nobody is supposed to touch her, even a bedding when she's unclean. So many legalistic things came in the Torah later on. So all that is completely wiped out. And who's that woman? The covenant woman. We are part of that covenant woman. Isn't it? Because we fell in line with Yahushua Mashiach. From the womb of the morning we have come. All right? And the covenant has been purified by the blood of the Lamb. His blood, has purified. Number 40 also talks about testing period. All right? Affliction. Yasharel was 40 years in the wilderness, isn't it? Yahusha, 40 days he was in the wilderness was hungry and was tempted by Hashatan. So the number 40 is also talking about testing, affliction, suffering. All that comes to an end in Yahushua HaMashiach. So what a beautiful picture if you understand, Paleo Hebrew. And this is what I thought of, sharing with you this evening. So may Yahushua Barak you.